Hey, and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. And of course, I'm your host, Marty Jalove. I come at you every single Monday night to talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any of today's episode, just tune in later in the week to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, give me a day or so to get the recording up there, and then tune in because you're going to like this episode. As you know, I'm always on a quest to bring you the industry best, and today I've got a very, very special guest, a returning guest, my friend Frank. We're going to be talking about employee enrichment, about bringing some smiles to the workplace, why it's important, why it is something that should be embedded in the culture of your company, and how you go about it. We're going to talk, we're going to throw some fun facts around, share some stories about bosses or companies we worked for who kind of ignored that employee enrichment, taking care of their employees. And we're also going to be talking about some companies we worked for, bosses, maybe companies we've heard of that just kind of ignore that idea and just kind of say, you know, if they don't want to work here, they don't have to. They can leave. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of both, and let's just get started. So before we go into this, Frank, I'm just turning on your mic here. Frank, introduce yourself. Tell the world who you are.
I'm Frank Pervado, a great guy.
Yeah. Oh, I have a guy, a hell of a guy.
A hell of a guy. Good friends with Marty. Was in the QSR restaurant business my entire life. Customer service and employee retention is something that I dealt with on an ongoing basis and had an amazing time. Mentored, saw people grow. It was an exciting time.
Yeah. All right. Good. Because I want to pick your brain on this whole thing.
Sure.
So, Frank, I just want you to do one thing. You're all good, but as you move away from the mic, we start losing you.
Oh, okay.
So just make sure that mic's close to your mouth and just talk into the mic. There you go. You're not the only one. I got to end up telling everyone. And unfortunately, my problem is I never tell anyone before we start. I wait till I hear you talk.
All right.
Okay. Maybe the audience would rather not hear you. So, do whatever you like. All right. So anyway, we want to get into this, and the theme of today's show is really the importance of happiness in the workplace. So Frank, I'm going to give it back to you for a second. I want you to think about a place that you worked at or a company something that you witnessed where there was definitely not the need or the appearance of a need for happiness. In other words, the management staff, the owners, et cetera, just kind of ignored happiness. They didn't care if their employees were happy. Talk about something like a negative experience that you either experienced yourself or that you witnessed.
Sure. So I did witness this, and I was trying to give some feedback about how we can make things better. And the person in charge said, "I really don't care. I can hire. If they don't like it, they can leave. I got a plethora of people that I can hire, and I really don't care." And that's when I knew I had to leave that company.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. One of the things is this idea. The reason I wanted to talk about some of the negatives is I want people to think about what the cost is when you lose an employee. Now, a lot of people say, just like you were saying, this guy you spoke of, where it doesn't matter. There's plenty of people waiting for a job. Depending on the job, yes, there are a lot of people waiting for the job, but you have to determine why do they want to work with you, because you need to, aside from compensation, we're talking about fair compensation to give people, but what are the other things you're giving them that they're going to want to come and work for you? What are you doing so that they will want to stay work for you? Because the cost of training someone, the cost of advertising to get someone in there starts really adding up. And the more that you start having employees that are like, I don't feel wanted, needed, respected here, I'm on my way out. That kind of stuff echoes throughout the company and it just spreads through the shadows, right? And it starts talking about, why am I working here? I don't get any respect here. Nobody cares about us. If I leave, they're just going to put an ad in the paper and replace me immediately. It's so easy to leave a place like that and find some place that's going to treat you a little bit better.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And what we didn't mention is they will tell every other employee.
Certainly.
So every day they're hearing this negative, and we all know that, our mindset will definitely change. If you're positive, you'll be positive. If you're negative, you're going to be negative.
Right.
And when you let that grow in your company, it's not good. And it will grow. And they will talk.
And it'll keep festering like that. So, so with this, I want to go back. Can you give me any specifics of anything that you worked at a place where you'd say, "Wow, this was the main thing"? I mean, other than what you just said, where he was just like, "I don't care, leave if you want to. It doesn't bother me." How about anything else that you can say very specifically that you'd say, "Yeah, I remember this guy used to do this all the time." All right. The reason I'm talking about this was I had a boss that was just every day I would walk by him and say hi. And he thought it was like, I don't know, it was part of his personality, but he looked down upon me. This was way back in high school. And he looked down upon me because I was just a high school student and just would grunt at me like, ugh. Like, in other words, I can't believe you're here. Right. And I saw him being really cordial with other people. So he had a friendly side, but anybody at my level, and there were other people working at my level, anyone at our level like that, he would just look down upon and make sure that we realized he was looking down on us. And when you get that long enough, you start feeling like, what do I have to do to win this guy's favor? Because I just can't. He's always going to look down upon me. I can't do enough to make him smile. And I remember it's when I finally left, it was he went on vacation for a while, and I thought, this is my time. I'm gonna really do this big project. It was a big cleaning project. I went out of my way, made the time to do it, did this massive project, took me days, right? He came back and I said, "Hey, Frank," his name was Frank as well, not you.
Oh, I kind of
Yeah,
like him already.
yeah, exactly. I showed him the project. He looked around, he goes, "Too little, too late." That was his response, right?
Wow.
And this was he never gave me any critique or compliment, but he never throughout the entire time said, "Hey, you need to improve this, you need to do this." Nothing, no feedback. And then when I tried to do something special, he just knocked me down even further. So, any experiences like that, Frank?
Well, I've met a few, and I don't know if they're trying to validate that they're better than us
Sure.
or they're intimidated, but I've seen it over and over and over again in business. And you know, luckily I was in a position where I can make changes, but it boggles my mind. Why would anybody talk to anyone?
Right,
It
right.
makes no sense.
We're all humans. We're all humans.
We're all, yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what level you are,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So yeah, I have seen it over and over again, or the ones that complain all day. Instead
Okay.
of telling you, "Hey, great job on this." Oh, let me tell you, I got this vein in my leg.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, really? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
what we're going to talk about? Just
Right.
negative. And we all know self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
You talk negative and you're negative, you're going to be negative.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
say, "Hey, Marty, did you see how beautiful it is today? It's amazing day. I
And
am so excited to be here." And it changes everything.
you're going to keep seeing beautiful things. You
Yes.
talk about the negative, you will contemplate, always see the negative things. It reminds me, there's a thing called like the red car effect. Okay.
Yes.
Where you tell people on your way home, count all the red cars, look for how many red cars there are. Right. And, what ends up happening, by the time you get home, they're like, "Wow, I didn't realize there were so many red cars. I counted like 25." And you go, "How many white cars did you see?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't think I saw any at all." Right? Because that's what you're looking for is the red
Yep.
cars. The next day you tell them, now on the way back to work, count all the white cars. And they're going to be like, "Wow, there were 30 white cars. What's going on?" And it's all because you find what you're looking for. And
Exactly.
so if you've got a negative attitude, you're going to keep finding negativity. If you come to work with a positive attitude, whether you're the employee or management, you come with a positive attitude, you will find positivity and people will replicate that.
I agree 110%. I have a friend who complained all the time about traffic.
Yeah.
I go, "You're complaining, so you're seeing the problems."
Yep.
Instead of going, "Hey, I made that light. I actually
Yeah.
am going to make this timeline." And then when you start thinking that way, changes everything.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
a sudden, hey, traffic wasn't so bad,
Right. Right.
but it's exactly what you said.
So, Frank, I know you're more of a music guy in the car, right? You
Yes,
like
I do
music.
love
So
music.
I like listening to podcasts, other people, just checking out and trying to learn something. And it's really cool sometimes that uh, I get to the point now, if there's traffic and it's slowing me down, I'm like, good, because this is a long podcast. I don't want to miss any of this, right? And I still get to the point, like, pulled up to the station today and I was listening to a podcast and I was like, oh, there's 5 minutes left on this podcast, right? So,
Yeah.
but I got, I'm here for the radio show. I can't just sit in the car for 5 more minutes.
Sure.
But it's that same thing of, so I don't mind the traffic, because sometimes the traffic that slows me down. Look at the positive side. I'm able to listen to the entire podcast. I'm able to learn something extra. You're able to listen to one more song, anything like that. Look at the beauty of it. And that's just traffic, let alone everything at work. The more joy you bring into the workplace, the more you share it with your employees, the more you as an employee share it with peers, the better the day will be.
That is a fact. But I do agree with you, because if I get the red light, I'm like, great, because this is one of my favorite songs. I have no problem, but I am early, so I knew I had plenty of time.
And I know you only karaoke at red lights, so that's why you need those, right? So I just heard one of the podcasts I was listening to. It's actually a podcast on happiness, okay? Because I can't get enough of this. I want to keep learning. And so one of the things was, they said, be of service to others, which I always talk about. You get great joy helping other people, servicing other people, really, right? Adding to their day. And people are like, well, yeah, but in my day-to-day, my job, I don't get a chance to do that because I'm behind a computer all day. And he came up with a suggestion I love. He goes, how about in the afternoon, you go into the break room, you grab a cup of coffee for a coworker. You just walk over to the cubicle, the guy next to you in the cubicle, put it down and says, it's the afternoon. I was kind of tired. I thought maybe you'd be a little tired. Here's a little kick of caffeine. Just that little thing. And you sit down, and all of a sudden you're sitting at your desk feeling, I did that guy solid, right? Took you next to nothing, but it's something so small that guy goes, that was really nice. You brought me a coffee, right? Yeah. And just, even if he goes, no, I don't really want any coffee, thanks anyway, it was still the gesture that you went out of your way. You didn't wait for him to ask, you just did it for nothing in return. And that's those little things like that are so incredible.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go off topic, but I'll tell you a story.
No, of course you were going to go off topic, but go ahead. Yeah.
So, in high school,
yeah,
I've been kind of social my whole life. So I was like, hey, let's come up with bring your favorite teacher an apple day.
Nice.
So we made all the posters. And I remember that morning, I go, man, I got so many favorite teachers. I went down to the cafeteria before school started, bought all these apples.
Oh, nice.
And went up to every one of my teachers and said, hey, you are my favorite teacher. Not realizing they were probably all in the
break room eating an apple.
Yeah. And going, that thing.
Frank, that big liar. Yeah. He said I was really his favorite. Right. Yeah.
They were all my favorite.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
But it's just, you're right. It's just,
I didn't want anything in return.
Right.
That's the key.
And I think it's more important, and we're going to get into business on this, but it's that relationship building when you do something like that, just because. It's just just because day. Right. It's not Teacher Appreciation Day. It's not World's Greatest Boss Day. It's not Employee Appreciation Day. It's a just because. I just did this because I was thinking about you. All right. I went to Starbucks. I stopped. I picked you up a coffee. Right. And I see this in some of the businesses that I coach, little things like this. I see all of a sudden a manager comes in and goes, hey, I know how much you like pizza. We had pizza last night, so I brought you the leftover. We got some of the stuff, and give it to an employee. I see an employee coming in. Oh, you know what? I stopped at Starbucks. I got your favorite coffee. And that type of camaraderie just builds this where it's no longer a team, but it's a family that you rely on each other. And the more you can build a company filled with that family that ties close to each other, everyone wants to live up to that. Nobody wants to go, well, I'm not going to work very hard today. No, because then you're letting down not just the owners, not the boss. You're letting down your family, your coworkers, right? So it's really, really important here. So before we go any further, Frank, I want to do into this. Now, the show is called Bacon Bits with Master Happiness.
I do.
That's right. And the reason we call it Bacon Bits is because everything bacon touches becomes a little bit better. So we apply the bacon principle here to the show. I ask everyone all the time, what's your bacon? What's the thing that wakes you up? What's the thing you're promising yourself tomorrow morning that's so incredible you can't even go to sleep tonight? And so when we talk about the show, we're not talking about the bacon for chewing. You don't know the line.
No,
Wow. We're not talking about the bacon for chewing. We're talking about the bacon for doing.
Doing.
There you go.
All right.
Love it. So the acronym B.A.C.O.N. represents this small kind of outline we're using for the show. So these are the 5 things I want to talk about of what I think is important for us to offer our employees and how we work on this so that they feel part of something bigger. They will gain happiness. They'll feel like they're part of something. And so the B stands for belonging, making your people feel like they belong to something. A is appreciation. We're going to talk about how we show them appreciation. C is connection. You see them as real people. You make connections. You find similarities. O is ownership. You give them something that they feel responsible for. And N is nurture. You have to continue to help them to grow. All right. And that's the B.A.C.O.N: belonging, appreciation, connection, ownership, and nurture. So, first off, let's just jump right into this, Frank.
All right.
And that is the belonging. How do you make a team feel like they belong? What do you got any brainstorm ideas there?
I go back to what, I used to do in the
Yeah.
QSR. You just validate that they are people. Okay.
Yeah.
They are part of a team.
Right.
You recognize them, you appreciate them coming into work.
Yeah.
A lot of them are young when they're in that restaurant.
Sure.
business,
Sure.
You know what I mean? They're nervous, and you make them feel at home.
Right.
And you don't put yourself so far above them that they don't feel approachable.
Gotcha. So one of the things I did with a group that I do some coaching with is I just had this cool exercise. And I loved it. It turned out even better than I expected it to. All right. I had everybody say something about themselves. And I said, if a customer came in here and you could do your own commercial of why you should choose me, as your professional here, how would you define yourself? And everyone's like, oh, and they're looking around at their peers, and everyone's like, oh, I don't know, I care a lot, and they're hemming and hawing and giving these ideas. And I made sure everyone did it, and everyone hesitated a little, right. And I said, okay, now let's go back to the beginning. Look to your right, to the person next to you, and you tell me why you would recommend them. What is special about them? What's special about your coworker? Man, I did that. Everyone jumped at it. Everyone immediately was, oh,
Great.
you should definitely see this person because she is so blah, blah, blah. Oh, you should definitely go to this person because blah, blah, blah. And they're going on and on. And some people even jumped in to say, oh, don't forget that she also can do this and that. And it was just explosive. And I said, I want us all to pay attention to this one thing about when I asked you to describe yourself, you hesitated, you questioned yourself. When I asked you to describe someone else, you jumped, you clawed your way into saying, I got something to say good about her too. And you rose you pushed your coworkers up and up above, and you said how great they are, but you didn't do it to yourself. So I want us to stop beating ourselves up. I want us to stop looking at ourselves and saying, I'm not worthy. Instead, view ourselves as somebody amazing. We're all individuals and we're all something special. And with this exercise, I encourage a lot of companies to try this. And then if they see the same type of results, like people are having a difficult time talking about themselves,
Right.
but have a great time talking about other people, you've got a strong team because they appreciate each other. But the issue that you've got to fix is now it's up to you to give every one of them that self-confidence, that feeling of belonging so that they can speak up about themselves and say, I am amazing too. Okay. So it's a great exercise. And I encourage anyone who's listening to the show to try this with their team.
Oh, I'm sure it helps tremendously.
Oh my God.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine how excited I'd be if you were saying something nice about
Yeah.
me?
Well, that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. It's a really nice shirt. Okay. All right. So belonging, I think that's really important, is just that idea of the more that you can create that family atmosphere. All right. And have everybody welcome into this. And you do certain things. I've done exercises where it's a big enough group where there's different departments and you can tell a lot of people don't know each other. Right.
Sure.
And so what you end up doing is you say, we're going to break you up. You're going to pick random numbers and everyone couples up or in groups of 3 or 4 or something like that. And you say, you have to find 3 things you guys all have in common. And it can't be, I'm a human and I breathe. Can't be that. It's got to be something like, I love cars. I love bacon. Whatever the deal is, it's got to be something like that. And so don't make the groups too big. So make them in groups of 5. It's really hard to find 3 things all 5 people like. But 2 people from 2 different backgrounds, 2 different departments, it's amazing where all of a sudden they realize, oh my God, you love action movies? I go see an action movie every week. Wow, that's really cool. I also love baking. Me too. You suddenly find some connection where then everyone feels like, hey, I belong here because I've got pals not only in my department, but I got friends all over the place.
Sure. And they see him down the road, walking down the hall. Oh my God. So
Yeah.
I got this new car.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Saw that new. Did you see the new blah 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 movie? Exactly. That's the way to go. And I think by doing that, people start feeling like they truly belong to something
I agree
amazing.
100%.
All right. I'm glad you agree 110%.
Okay, 100%.
All right. There you go. All right. Let's get into this. This is one of the ones that I know, Frank, that you're really into, and that's appreciation. Okay. It was interesting. I was throwing some ideas by you the other day about how you have to really be careful how you do appreciation because you don't want to overlook people. But what are some of the ways that you've seen, even the simplest ways that you show appreciation? And what are some of the cool ways that you know in the past you've seen people be successful in how they show appreciation?
Yeah, I think you have to really, as a leader, I see what's really happening, right? You
Okay.
can't say, "Hey, Marty, great job today," but actually, Marty went above and beyond,
Right. Right.
and I didn't recognize that. Well, you know what? He's not going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're not. You're going to go. I did all this extra work, and Frank didn't even see it. He just said had a great day, so I don't even believe that's real. I had a boss, and this guy was so good at realizing what motivated each individual. Everybody was different.
Yeah.
I'm a car guy.
Yeah.
So he fly up and, drive up and go, "Hey, I don't want to drive back. Can you watch my brand new Lexus for a month or two?"
Wow.
You know
Yeah.
what? I never worked harder.
Yeah.
I worked hard. I love driving it. And then I over the years, I noticed he did that. Everybody had a different way to be motivated. And I saw what he did and realized this guy is amazing. And that's why our company was so successful. Because
Sure.
everybody's an individual. He identified it because he actually cared.
And I bet you that made you feel really important. It made you feel heard
Yeah.
because wow, he listened to me. He knows what I like and what I don't like,
Yes.
and he's supporting me with that. All right. What about some? So I threw by some questions to you earlier about this idea of you can't show appreciation to everyone all the time because then it becomes a whitewash. Even as genuine as you are, and you're like, oh my God, Frank, you did a great job on the Miller review or whatever. That was just incredible. And then Nancy, you did a great job on this, and Brenda, you did this. You can't do everyone because then it's kind of like it's just expected. And then the day you miss it, then they're like, what happened? I'm not good today. But Frank, how do you handle this whole idea? Like, how do you choose who I'm going to appreciate in public? Because I'm assuming you appreciate in public. We criticize or we work on people. We give them growth opportunities in private,
Correct.
and we give them the accolades in public. How do you select who gets those accolades, those pats on the back?
Yeah, he did ask me this
Yeah.
earlier, and I was thinking about it. Well, first of all, I try to identify, if somebody really, okay, if you're just doing your job and you do it well, and
Yeah.
you got everything done, be it a restaurant industry or anything, and you're doing it well, it's efficient, great, good for you. But if you went above and beyond, and let's say Sally, she
Yeah.
did, and she also did her job, but she also just really, did something amazing. I'm going to call her out in the meeting.
Sure.
Now, Jim's going to go, "Well, I did everything right. I was on time. I got everything done." I go, "Right. You did your job. And I appreciate you, Jim. I do. I really do." But Sally really went above and beyond. And that's why I called her out. So
Yeah.
now Jim's like, "Well, guess what? I want to be called
Right.
out next week in our
Yeah.
next weekly meeting." And then they all start competing. And then all of a sudden they're all doing it. And I'm looking at the numbers going,
Right.
"Oh, we're having a great month."
Exactly. Exactly. I like that. I like that. One of the things we talked about a little bit was when you cut through all the red tape and you just do this, is when you are hired, when you accept the job, you've made a deal with your employer to say, I will do these tasks, strive for these goals for this amount of money, this compensation, right? And then that's it. That's when it stops. So when you do your job, like you're explaining, you shouldn't necessarily feel it's necessary that they come and hug you and pat you in the back and high five you and say, wow, you did your job, right? It's the same as how come they're not giving me a raise for doing my job, right? Now, so once you understand that from both sides, you're right. When somebody exceeds and they suddenly go, wow, we expected you to do all these things in 5 hours and you're able to do them in 4 hours and you're able to take on additional responsibility. Well, I want to definitely recognize you and I want to compensate you for that. And then vice versa is that same thing of you as an employee, why wouldn't you want to exceed and become better just to show the employer, hey, I really you don't want to get rid of me. I'm a star player. Okay. I'm not just one of the workers. I am a superstar. Okay. It's a rough statement to make, but the reality is no matter how many good employees you have, no matter what we have, you will always have one worst employee. Okay. And you might have all A players and you got one B player who is outstanding, a B player, but then now that becomes the worst employee. They try really hard. Now they become an A player with everyone else. There's still one of the worst employees, right?
Right.
And it's terrible. No one likes to hear that. But the reality is, if you want to keep your job, you continue open communication with your boss. The boss, if they want to keep you, should keep open communication with
Right.
them. And the bare minimum is I agreed to pay you this amount. So that's the bare minimum. I'm not going to pay you less than that. And you agreed to do the work. So that's the bare minimum. So you do the work. All right.
Right.
If you ever expect me to give you a bonus, which is above the bare minimum, right? Then what did you do to deserve it? You have to do something outstanding. And I know some employees or some people are working at places listening, going, well, that's terrible. I work really hard. Yeah, I am sure you do work really hard. But the reality is, isn't that what you agreed upon for that dollar amount? Okay. So we'll do a show in the future about how to get a raise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But before we break, because we got about 3 minutes to the break.
Okay.
All right. I want to tell you. So I did some research and I dug up some fun facts about happiness in a workplace.
We love fun facts, Mark.
And I looked at places like this, a neuroscience study in the Journal of Positive Psychology. I dug into, there's a book called The Happiness Advantage. Great book. You should read that. That is done by the author Sean Anker, The Happiness Advantage. I always look into the Harvard Business Review. They got some great stuff in there. All right. This other thing about the APA Journal of Applied Psychology.
Mhm.
And lastly, the Gallup. Gallup provides all these polls and stuff about where they look at so many businesses and they look at trends. So I looked at a bunch of things. So I'm going to give you some quotes here, and just so you know that they're not made up. They're really dug up from somebody. Maybe they made them up. I don't know, but I like them. All right. So one of the first ones is just straight out. Happy employees are significantly more productive than unhappy peers. Okay. And I don't think anyone has to say, oh, I needed Harvard to tell me that. That's an obvious one, right? You'd agree with
I
that?
would agree with that, but unfortunately I've seen people that do not even look at that.
Well, I think they employers who say it's not my job to make them happy are happy with good enough, and they're the people.
That is it.
They're happy. They're happy. They're the employees like you talked about earlier. I don't care. You want to quit? You don't do your job, but you're on fire. You want to quit? Quit. I got plenty of other people. That attitude. What makes you think that person wants to come into work? Right? Okay. And so here's another one: is joyful teams experience far less turnover, saving companies massive amounts of hiring costs. All right. It's just that joyous teams by bringing them together. It's just, if you take a look at their statistics to this, it continues to go this. Here's one you really like. Positivity at work directly correlates with fewer sick days and better overall health.
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
100%.
Think about this. If you are loving where you're working, you're showing up every day. If you're like, oh my God, I got to go to work again. What happens? My throat's bothering me a little. I'm going to call in. You're going to use every one of your sick
PTO,
days. Yeah. So we'll get back to more of these because right now it's about time to take a momentary break, Frank.
Okay.
And we will be back. For those of you who just tuned in, I'm talking with Frank Pervado, and we're talking about how to bring happiness back to the workplace. I love it that the camera's on me and he's waving. So it's all good. All right. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay tuned, and thank you very much. Hey, and welcome back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in or just tuning in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. I'm your host, Marty Jalove, and I'm here with my friend, Frank Pervado. We're talking about employee enrichment. It's taking that next step, not just giving the employees a nice place to work, but really putting some concentration towards the employees, helping them grow, helping them become part of a family, giving them a reason to come in every day. like I've talked with plenty of people before, I like asking people, what's your bacon? What's the thing that wakes you up in the morning? What gets you going, right? And I think that one of the things we have to do is most businesses, when we see a lot of people calling in sick, there's a tendency that Monday is the day people call in sick. Long weekend, and they're like, I got to go to work. I hate Monday, right? So I concentrate on making Mondays fun days. And so it's really important that what you need to do is do something special Monday mornings on a regular basis. Change it up so it doesn't become a routine. And you don't have to do it every Monday, but every once in a while say, hey, one Monday a month, we're going to do a surprise, blah, blah, blah. One Monday a month, we're going to bring in donuts. One Monday a month, we're going to have pizza for lunch. Whatever it is, you do this on Mondays so that they look forward to Monday. So Sunday night, rather than going, I got to go to the office tomorrow, they might go, oh, maybe tomorrow's pizza day, right? It's been a couple of weeks, right? So that kind of stuff allows them to look forward to the Monday. The goal is to switch it in such a way that if you could build a team that when Friday comes, they're like, oh, it's Friday. That means I got to spend 2 days at home, right? 2 days at home. I got to mow the lawn. I got to shovel the snow.
Sure.
Hopefully not. Well, we're in Chicago. Sometimes that could be in the same weekend, right? But they don't want to go at home. They don't want to be at home. They want to be at work with their fellow, their coworkers, their friends. So think about this whole, what are you going to do on a Monday morning or a Monday, either all the time or occasionally, to get them to be excited about coming into work. All right. I think it's really, really important. So, Frank.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you're back. Yeah, I could turn on your mic. That would be even better. So we were talking a little bit about the bacon here. And so we talked a little bit about belonging and appreciation. And so when we looked at this, is you had mentioned something about how to show appreciation to some of your people. So share us a little bit.
Sure. I think one of the secrets to great recognition,
Yeah,
because they need to be recognized,
definitely.
right, is first of all to be specific. Again, you did something special and I didn't identify that and just said, hey, thanks, have a great day.
Yeah, that
You're not
doesn't
gonna
mean
do
anything.
You're not
Right,
gonna do
right.
You got to be specific and show that you care. And, also timely.
Sure.
If I go, hey, remember 4 months ago when you did that? They're like, no, I don't remember.
When you did that one thing that I can't remember either.
Remember.
Yeah.
It was a good job. Here's a lollipop.
Right.
But be personal as well. I think that's imperative.
Okay.
I think, you should know all your employees.
Yeah.
In the restaurant business, every day was imperative that you talk them in, through, and out. Hey,
right.
Marty, today's going to be crazy. We've got all these things happening. If this is what we're looking for. And then middle of the day, how is things going?
Right.
Things are going great. And at the end of the day, since you were checking on them, you're able to say, I saw what you did and I'm impressed.
I love that.
You know what? You have a great night. Can't wait to see you. Remember, one of these Mondays, it'll be a fun day. And be sincere, because that shows you're sincere.
Right.
When I just say, hey,
that's so true.
Great, thanks. Got to go. I'm busy doing these reports.
Yeah.
That is not sincere. I'd be like, oh man, Marty, stand up, talk to him.
Exactly.
And then go public. I'd be like,
okay.
In the next manager meeting or a crew meeting, you guys don't understand. Marty really stepped it up.
Yeah. Think about just that, the way you describe it. You're absolutely right. And those of you listening, if you work for a company, imagine just that. Your boss came to you and did all of that kind of stuff. Called you out by name in front of everyone saying, hey, I want to make this little announcement. So proud of Frank that Frank did this yesterday or today. Not, remember last year, that whole thing. Hey, I want to thank everyone. Employee 17 is here, and he once did something that was, I guess, brag-worthy. And so we don't know what it was, but let's give him a round of applause.
I would say I'm number 16.
Yeah, exactly. All right, right. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You've got to do that out in public. You've got to address them by name, make them feel special. Be extremely sincere with it.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah. All right, so we kind of covered belonging, which was the B. A is the appreciation. I think we got into appreciation a little bit before the break, right?
Sure.
Okay, but because we talked about how do you appreciate those people. Now, how do you address every once in a while? What's going to happen is somebody's going to feel like, hey, I'm not getting appreciated, but they don't want to bring it up because they don't want you to go, oh my God, yeah, you're appreciated. they don't want to be overlooked. How do you find out when somebody's feeling underappreciated when you're talking about these people? Because there are employees who are like, hey, I just filled the water cooler. Hey, I saw some litter in the parking lot, picked it up. There's people who brag about themselves, and then there's other people who go out of their way to do great things, but they don't broadcast it. So how do you highlight them, or how do you find out about those people?
Well, you have to know what's happening in your team.
Okay.
I mean, you really do. And communication,
Yeah.
open communication. Other employees, like we talked about, will share. Do you know what Jill did?
Nice.
I didn't see it, but what? Tell me about it. Because it shows that we're concerned. I'd
Right.
love to
Right.
hear what she did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I gotta say something about that.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. And I think so Frank, I have this thing called the B.A.C.O.N meeting. All right. And it's 5 points. It's obviously B.A.C.O.N. I love,
Oh,
I
wow,
love,
that's
yeah, it's unique, right?
way off. Yeah,
But what I like to do is, and if I, as the owner of the company, can't reach every single employee, I'm going to have sure my management team,
that's it.
everyone gets talked
Yes.
to, and the more often, the better. Some places, I love this. They have little mini powwows every morning, some once a week, but you've got to talk to these people on a regular basis. And the bacon there is this: you ask them before you talk about work. You ask them, B is the big picture. How you doing? Are you feeling motivated? You feeling down? What's going on? What's exciting you? What's bothering you? Okay. So it's kind of like me taking your temperature, right? Then based on all of that, A is the action steps. So based on that, let's do some action steps or setting some new goals. So this is great. Like you sold 3 in a row. Let's give you a couple more. Let's go for this. Oh, you got 3 no's, or you failed at this, or you tripped and fell on something like this. How are we going to turn this around? I didn't
Sure.
lose faith in you. So the A is the action steps. C is, now I come into this, and this is more about work, where I say this is about your conflicts and concerns, but I also want solutions. All right. So tell me what's going on in the building, something that I didn't see, that if you were in charge, you would change, you would fix. Okay. This is not a nagging situation. This is bringing up concerns that I should know about and how we fix them. Right. O is really important. O is other stuff or outside. Tell me something that you are my eyes and ears outside of the building. What's our competition doing? What's the industry doing? What do you know that would help us? Right? People feel so good. Like, you rely on my information? Yes, yes. And then to tie in what we talked about with this appreciation is N is a notable win. All right. And I ask you at the end of the meeting, what is something that you did that you're really proud of that I might have overlooked, something I missed? Yeah, and you ask them straight out. You give them permission. First couple times you have these meetings, I don't know. I'm just doing my job. Everything's fine. They're like, okay, but I want you to work on it. I want you to tell me next week I'm gonna have the meeting again. I want a notable win, and I don't care if it's you landed $100,000 account, or you learned a new chocolate
Right.
chip cookie recipe. Whatever it is, what's a notable win? If I had a trophy to give you, what would it say on the trophy, right? And before you know it, everyone is talking about those positives. Okay. Even with the C, the conflicts and concerns, they're talking about the solutions. This is how we need to fix it. You're talking about what's going on outside, right? They see, wow, you really care about me. You were asking me how I'm feeling, right? And at the end, you want me to tell you something I'm proud of so that you can congratulate me. I think just those 5 steps, you can do those. That's a 5-minute stand-up meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
100.
yeah, yeah. So it's really, really strong. All right. So enough on this appreciation. Let's just jump into connection. C is connection, and I think we've been touching on this a little bit. But what do you do if you got your team and the team you ran? How do you find it easy to make connections with your team members?
I would say, okay, if I using the past
Yeah,
experience,
yeah,
I made sure
yeah.
that
No,
I
use your future experience.
oh,
Okay.
thanks. Wow.
Yes.
Just actually saying hello to everybody and showing that I care,
Yeah.
and you find out. You asked me this earlier, and I was thinking, you know what? When you get to know your team and they
Yeah.
really matter, you know that Jill's daughter had a baby.
Right.
Okay. And, then you bring it up because you're specific.
Yeah.
Hey, how is little Amber doing?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Then it shows you care. Right. And then you can go into work specifics. But you've got to know your team.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're a team leader, you should know a lot about your team. I think that makes a big difference.
Right.
And they
Right.
will work harder because they realize, you know what? He really does care.
Right.
He's
Right.
not like Marty. No, just kidding. I'm kidding,
Yeah.
Marty.
Yeah.
But
So
right,
I'm going to throw it back to you in a moment. But you know what I like is a couple of different places I'm working with has started this little employee questionnaire about things like where's your favorite vacation place? What's your favorite candy bar? Just get to know you things. And then
Yes.
it's cool. One of the places we did a holiday party, and then we pulled these out, and I read different lines from them, and I said, "Who do you think
Oh,
is
I like
this?"
that.
Right? And then everyone looks around the room. Oh, that's this person. That's Stacy or whatever. Right? And it's really cool because then everyone's laughing and trying to pick who that is, and you can see the people who get it right. You're like, wow, there's some great camaraderie there.
Sure.
And so, even if as an owner you do this little questionnaire or these fun questions, and you do it as, hey, we're going to have this contest or we're going to play a game later in the month. That's one thing that's cool, but to hold on to it, because when you suddenly go, hey, by the way, you did a great job. I know you like Mike and Ike's. I got you a box of Mike and Ike's. Just that simple
Oh,
thing
yeah.
goes
Validate them.
so
Yes,
long.
it's
Like,
huge.
oh my God, you know that I love those candies and you saw that I did something, right? And so I think that's so incredibly strong.
So valuable for business.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, people don't understand that little extra effort goes so.
Right, right. And so that's a little combination of the appreciation and connection here. All right. So now we're going to get into this O, which is ownership. All right. And I think ownership is so important for employees. In other words, give them some responsibility for something and say, this is your task. This is your thing you're going to run with. Okay.
Right.
When I do the show notes on this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to this thing about how I tell people to write procedures, and it's like the phone game.
Sure.
Okay, but there'll be a link to it so you can download this whole thing, the steps that you have to do in order to write a great procedures manual. And one of the things, the reason I'm bringing it is there's got to be some ownership to it. And so what happens if I'm training you on a project? All right, at a certain point during the training and you're learning, I say, Frank, you now own this project. Okay, you are the one who owns the procedures manual on this process, or right. And so it's up to you to perfect the procedures manual. Because me, the person who does it all the time, I barely need the procedures manual. I skim through it and I go, yeah, it looks right. You're new at it. So you're looking at the procedures manual going, wait a second, you told me to do this. It's not in here. So you own it, you add it. Okay.
Right.
And then when you are adding it to the procedures manual and boosting up that procedures manual, what ends up happening then is you become so adept at it because not only did you learn it, but you wrote it down, you updated it, you know the steps, you know why this step comes before this step, and you go through this, and now you're ready. At a certain point, you're ready to train the next person, and then when you're training the next person, you say now you own the procedures manual because the procedures manuals are always evolving, right? Yeah. So I think that's a great way when we talk about ownership is give everyone something to hold on to.
I agree because you're empowering that employee,
Yes.
which just makes them feel good and they'll
Right.
spend the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, they trust me to get this done.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge.
Right.
And then
Right.
they put the effort in and then they convey that to the next person and the next person. And it's just a win.
Yeah.
Domino effect.
There you go.
Win-win.
So we talked a little bit in the car also about sometimes employees feel like the only way that they get recognition is to grow, and they become I'm an employee
Yeah.
right now. I should be a supervisor. Well, I've worked here so long. Why am I not the supervisor? Because then I'm going to become the manager, and then et cetera, move up the line. And sometimes we have to teach them that no, sometimes you are so good at this one job. I want to keep you here because just making you the supervisor or the manager doesn't mean you could teach other people to be that good. All right. But I want to give them some type of ownership, something to say, I appreciate you being here and I trust you. I want you to be at this level. Okay. But I want you're not growing up, you're growing sideways.
Right.
You're
Perfect.
expanding your knowledge outwards. Okay. Sometimes I'll say it's not all vertical, it's horizontal growth. Okay. Also, it's not you're not growing like a tree, you're growing like a plant out this way. And I think, but both ways you're growing. So understand that. And I think the more we can convince people moving sideways, growing sideways, how important that is, and how some people really should strive for that. It's incredibly important.
I actually have seen this happen. And people that move up, they're not going to make
Oh
it.
yeah.
And you lose amazing employees.
Right. Right.
So by doing exactly what you said is you validate the value they have
Yep.
by moving, horizontally.
Yeah.
It's a win and make them feel good about it. because the worst thing is to do is put them in a position and they fail.
Oh my
And
God.
then you lose this great person.
Yeah. And how do you pull them back down and say, you were better at this level, so we're going to demote you?
Yeah, that's a lose-lose.
Yeah, yeah. How many times have you seen this? I've seen this so many times that a salesperson, a great salesperson, is automatically like pushed up to sales manager. You are our best salesman, so you're sales manager. Well, now what happens? The best salesman is no longer selling.
That's fact, right there. Yes.
And all of a sudden, sales drop, and you look at this guy going, you used to be so good. We put you in charge, and now sales fell apart, right? And then that guy leaves, and you can't. And it's so hard to go. We want to put you back into sales, and we're going to put someone else there because now you've told the guy, we thought you could do this, but you can't, right? So there's so many negatives to that. It's terrible. It's got to be fixed.
I agree. I've seen it many times.
Yeah. I'm looking over here. Something screwy happened with the camera, but we're okay. We're okay. All right. So the last one here is N for nurture. Okay. So before we go into the nurture, I just want to take a look at if there's any of these other ones worth reading. So workplaces that encourage breaks and rest see higher quality output and fewer errors. Okay. We've all worked at those places where they're like, work, with the whip and get it done. And in reality, I like the idea of going, hey, we take your break, put it down. It'll be here when you come back, right? Take your lunch, enjoy your lunch. There's going to be some exceptions like, hey, we got a customer. You can't, take care of the customer, right? You got to take care of, those are the exceptions. But most of the time, we should never encourage people to work 24 hours a day. Okay. When a boss comes in and says, man, I was working on the Riley report till 2 a.m. Okay. What that does is it tells the employees, if you do that, if you work those extra hours without pay, you go out overboard like this, you'll be rewarded. And instead it's like, no, we want you to be happy with what you're doing. We want you to do your work within those set hours.
Right.
We want you to excel and get better, but we also want you to enjoy life. That's what it comes down to. I mean, we want you to enjoy your job, but we want you to enjoy your free time as well.
Yes, they're humans.
Yeah, exactly. So encourage the breaks, encourage lunch, encourage people to leave on time. Congratulate them for putting forth the extra effort, but don't congratulate people who say, who are always doing this. I worked all night long on that. And I worked all night long. Every week I put in 4 extra hours or 10 extra hours. Don't congratulate them for that because you'll burn them out.
Yeah,
completely.
And you'll, so let's say I'm working for you and I'm going to get my lunch break. I'm so hungry. I didn't get to have breakfast. I know I'm going to get my break. This is when it comes up. And then Marty's like, no, I need you to work through it.
Yeah.
Do you know how much animosity I'm going to have for you?
God, yes. Yes.
So we've got to give them what they've earned.
Right.
And breaks are imperative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some will say, I don't want it. I go, I appreciate you so much.
Yes.
But just take it. Enjoy yourself. Read a book.
There you go. So, Frank, I'm going to give you this little sideline, a little tangent. I love a good tangent. So I years ago, I was looking at this whole thing of going, I talk with people and they go, you want employees to say, just give them more money. Just give them more money.
Yeah.
And I go, if that's all you do is saying, I'm just going to throw more money at them. I'm not going to change anything else. You have to realize that you've set them up to say, leave if someone else is giving you more money. Right. Sure. Because if all they come to work for me is for the compensation for that almighty dollar, they're going to find somebody else who's going to give them 50 cents more an hour and they're a mile closer to home. Then you go, why wouldn't I leave? If all I'm working for is money, right?
Sure.
So the old adage of the carrot and the whip, was the old way of working. But nowadays, what we have to do is we have to get employees to really enjoy where they're working. We want them to get our mission. We want them to get our vision, right? And so that GET always stands for me is goals, empathy, and tools. We give our people that through constant communication. But if you give them goals, clear goals that they understand, that are specific
Very specific, I agree.
Give them empathy that they're humans to say, hey, I understand sometimes you are confused. Sometimes you're ill. Sometimes, you need to break, whatever.
Don't confuse that with sympathy.
Yes.
See, a good leader knows empathy.
There you go.
Not sympathy.
I like it. And then lastly is give them all the tools they need.
Yeah.
And the tools could be training. It could be a stapler. It could be paper clips, whatever.
In my business, that was the biggest. Okay. You can't send someone into battle without bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
So everybody's working hard, the air conditioner's out. And
Right.
you expect them to do 110%.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Right.
We got the wrong thing. This is broken.
Yeah.
So having the right tools and it all working is, I think, imperative as
And-
well to make a happy environment.
And that's where the empathy comes in when you sit here and you say, if I can't give them the right tools, have empathy for them and understand why they're not doing exactly what I want. Wow, this is really cool. Somebody is messing with this computer in front of me and it's not me. So it's fun. Anyway, that's the ghosts of the station.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So the thing I want to tell you is this: think of the stork method. Okay, you like this? All right, the stork method. It's finally I'm not saying bacon. All right. And so if compensation, fair compensation, the right compensation is number one. You look at that. Yes. So if all things are fair, what in addition am I giving them? And you think of stork, which is S is security. No one wants to come into work every day going, is today the day I'm going to be fired?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You want psychological security. You want them to be able to approach you and saying, hey, I've got a problem and I'm not going to get yelled at because Frank's a great boss, right? So security. T is trust. You want to just trust them. You don't want them to feel like, oh my God, you're leaning over my shoulder, watching everything I'm doing, right? There's cameras all around me. Like nobody trusts me with what I'm doing. Because if you don't feel trustworthy, you are going to make mistakes. And they're going to be mistakes. You'll be like, everyone's watching me. I'm rushing. I'm nervous. So I'm going to make mistakes.
Sure.
So trust people. O is opportunities, which we talked about, is give them a chance to grow, give them a chance to prove themselves because they could be in the wrong position right now. So you give them that chance, right? R is you give them the chance by giving them responsibilities. Okay. And this is that whole thing where we talked about ownership. These are your responsibilities. This is an opportunity. Get great at this without me because I trust you. All right. And let's see where we go from here. Right. And so that's the STOR. And then K is deliver it all with kindness. Okay. I have been with bosses, and I'm sure you have, that just scream and yell, swear at you. All right. Versus the ones who are just kind and empathetic and just chat with you. Say, what's going on? What's going on? I had a boss years ago, got to be my favorite mentor in of all the companies I worked for. And it was this guy, Al Hoffman. And he used to just sit down, he'd come to in my office every once in a while. I was a graphic designer, right? And he was the president of this large company. He'd come in my office. He goes, Marty, what are you doing for lunch? Let's go to lunch, just you and I, right? And we'd go to lunch. He goes, tell me the craziest idea you can come up. We're trying to sell this product. Tell me something crazy. And he would just pick my brain like that.
Yeah.
And he just made me feel so seen, right? And whenever I screwed up or something like that, because of the way he partnered with me, the way he made me feel so good, I was always brokenhearted if I felt I was letting him down, right?
Sure.
And he always came to me going, it's okay. Did you learn something from this?
That's it. Right
there. As long as you learn something from it, Marty, it's all okay. He goes, if you continue to repeat it, that's a problem because that's showing that you're not paying attention or you'd never learn something from it. He goes, but everyone makes mistakes. Don't worry about making mistakes. And I've just carried that through with me the entire time. Nowadays, I'll go to teams and I'll ask them straight out if I don't see them in a while, how many mistakes have you made lately? And if somebody goes, no mistakes, I'm like, you're not trying hard enough, All right. So, Frank, what got any great closing words? Because we're almost at the end here. We kind of brushed by nurturing, but I think we touched on nurturing these people throughout the entire show about helping them grow, giving them everything they need. Any great closing words?
I wish I had some great closing words. All I know is that I appreciate my teams. I would look forward to seeing them. You know what I mean? And I know in my last company, because I said, hey, Marty, you're an individual. I don't want you to mimic what they do here.
Yeah.
I want your personality, you to hire your type of team.
I like it.
But, we know what our goals are.
Yeah.
But it's got to have Marty's pizzazz. And by giving these people this ability,
right?
I mean, they would bring flour, it's dependent. Like Robin always had weird stuff, and not weird. It was wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But they loved that we empowered them as individuals. So again, it's empowering people to be who they are, and they will flourish.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I had one of the cool awakening moments for me, an aha moment for me in business is my older brother worked as a manager or VP, I'm not sure what his title was, of logistics for a very, very large candy company. And I remember the one time he came to me, he goes, oh, I have to fire people. And I'm like, what did they do wrong? He goes, no, it's just cuts. And I'm like, so who do you have to fire? He goes, 13%. And I was like,
Wow.
that's it. So they were like, yeah. So it's not, no one did anything wrong.
Sure.
It was just, we have to cut your staff by 13%. I remember that. And that number just drilled into my head here going, so how do you go to your team and saying you're the lowest 13%, right? And he goes, yeah, it's breaking my heart because whatever it was, sales, outside, causes or whatever hurt the
Commodities,
business.
costs. Yeah, sure.
We in logistics didn't do anything wrong. We did everything right, and now we're cutting our staff. And it's really tough. And so it really is always rang true to me that I go, I don't want to cut 13%. I want to cut individuals. I have to let go of Nancy. I have to let go of Tom, etc. I have to go through this, and I want to talk to the people above me. So are you asking me to let go of Nancy, Tom, Jerry, Bill, Bob, etc.? 13%, it's easy to say, cut them 13%.
Right.
Give them names, identities, and it's something different.
Agreed.
Okay. So with that whole idea of names and identity, it's one of the tricks I always do. It's one of the tricks. It's a sad trick. But if I know anyone in the hospital, I do the same thing. I bring the nurse's station a box of donuts, and I write on it the name of the person in the hospital and saying, hey, this is from Frank, etc. So you're not patient 27. You're a real person who is taking care of the nurses, and the nurses come in and going, hey, thanks, Frank, whatever it is. So you will always do better if you recognize people by name.
I agree.
All right. So Frank, thank you so very much for attending this. There was a lot of other fun facts. Maybe I'll include them in the show write-ups.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And yeah, I had a great time with you. And next week we will be, this is the first week in May. So next week we will be working with my boys here, and we will be talking about Peter Drucker, one of the greatest leaders. He was a visionary in the way that he led teams. So we're going to talk about leadership next week, Monday. So in the meantime, tune in to this station every single Monday at 7:00, or listen to the podcast, which is Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thank you very much, and have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful evening.